Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 15th of March 2024, and these are the stories that we will decipher during the course of our show. We'll begin with the International Day to Combat Islamophobia that is being observed all across the world, including in Pakistan today. What is Islamophobia? It is fear, it is prejudice, and it is hatred of Muslims that leads to provocation, hostility and intolerance by means of threatening, by means of harassment, abuse, incitement and intimidation of Muslims and non-Muslims, both in the online and the offline world. And this is something that we have been seeing since quite some time, whether it be in India, whether it be in the West, whether it be also as a result of the conflict between Israel and Palestine. We see a lot of that happening on different fora. This needs to be curbed as this day becomes even more important in the wake of all these incidents that are happening across the world. This is going to be our first segment, the International Day to Combat Islamophobia, how to combat Islamophobia. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Prime Minister's initiatives to expedite SIFC initiatives. He has outlined an ambitious 5-year economic roadmap that is aimed at bolstering Pakistan's economy and steering it towards prosperity. He was addressing a meeting on economy and said that the paramount importance of fortifying the national economy was in front of the government in order to ensure progress over the next half decade. This is going to be our next segment, the economic prosperity in Pakistan and the role of SIFC in all of this. Then we're going to talk about our last two stories. The first is the South Korean scientists who have grown beef cells in rice grains. Now they are calling it beef rice, and they say that this could pave the way for something, food that is less expensive but at the same time more consumable. There are pros and there are cons, and we'll be highlighting that in our third story. Then we'll be talking about Arctic scientists that have warned of bird flu spread as cases amongst the penguins have been confirmed. The H5N1 avian flu virus has been confirmed in some of the migratory birds after the disease was first confirmed on the frozen continent's mainland last month and has since been detected in these local penguins and cormorant populations. We all remember the H5N1 virus a few years back. Let's hope it doesn't come to spread the way it did a few years back. This is going to be our last story. Let's begin with our first, and that concerns the International Day to Combat Islamophobia. Islamophobia, I've just given you what it is: this intimidation, this threat, this prejudice, this hatred of Muslims, this fear of Muslims that leads to consequences that are disastrous for the Muslim community and also for the non-Muslim community. We've been joined by three guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. In the studios, we have two guests. On my right, we have Muhammad Israr Madni Saab. He is the president of IRCRA. Thank you very much, Madni Saab, to have joined us. Then we have AVM retired Ijaz Malik Saab. He's a senior analyst, a regular in our shows. Thank you very much, AVM Saab, to have joined us. We also have Awais Rajput, who's a security studies researcher in the United Kingdom. Thank you very much, Awais, to have joined us as well. Let's begin with you, Madni Saab. Madni Saab, today is International Day to Combat Islamophobia, but at the same time it is a very sad reminder of what we are seeing across the world as a result of this hate, this prejudice against the Muslims in all parts of the world, in many parts of the world, and which could be a direct or indirect result of conflicts that are happening. Is it too late already to stop it, or can we take necessary measures to curb this menace?
Thank you for organizing this wonderful show, especially on the topic of Islamophobia, which is not much more discussing in the current era. But I think we are not too late, and especially the Pakistan did a leading position, especially in the United Nations and with the support of OIC, to pass the resolution. And now globally under the United Nations, everyone is organizing the events, conferences, seminars and workshop, TV shows on the Islamophobia. So I think this is a new start, and it's a good initiative from the Pakistani Foreign Office, who did lead for this cause. But I agree with you that the current situations, still the Islamophobia is one of the biggest threats to the social cohesion and the interfaith harmony. Same as you know that there is a church incident at the France and then Austria, but beside that, if you see, so the mosque and the Muslims are targeting much more in these areas. as recently you see the citizen bill in the India, which is specifically targeting the Muslims communities. Same what's happening in Kashmir, same happening in Gaza. So all of these are, I think these are the indication that we need to talk more about the issue of the Islamophobia. And this is not only the issue of Islam, because this is the issue that's creating the racism, hatred in the community and the youth especially. And in the new trends, we are seeing that the social media and the media, the use of the media and social media in this context, which promoting the leading to the conflict within the societies.
And I think there are a lot of factors that are leading to this divisiveness within the community. VM Saab, institutional discrimination, barriers that violate human rights and dignity of Muslims, divisive rhetoric, misrepresentation of Muslims and Islam. These are stigmatizing communities, especially the Muslim community. Who, in your point of view, is behind all of this discrimination, and what do they intend to achieve with all of this?
Thank you very much. I think we need to understand what is the background, how this new slogan after the end of Cold War, it has morphed, particularly in the West. There are two aspects in my reckoning. One is the geo-economics part of this phenomena, and the other is definitely the social or religious aspect. Because now in the global world, the Muslim communities globally, wherever the Muslims are settled, they are fast growing communities in numbers, and Islam is a fast growing religion. So there are people who genuinely feel threatened because of this expansion or rapid growth. Some have their just purely economic or social concerns, because they think that the strong Muslim communities within certain states or countries, eventually they would take over their complete socio-economic system or structures. So that is what brings a confrontation to them. But we have to see it that there are other communities also who are large immigrants, particularly in America, for example, or England, but they are considered benign because they very conveniently they assimilate themselves or they absorb in the socio-cultural setups of those countries. Whereas Muslims, by virtue of their background, their very strong association with the religion, they want to retain their identity, and that is what bothers everybody. Because our Muslim girls would be in a special attire, most of the Muslim men even would be in a special attire. So that what it starts or initiates, I think, the discrimination. In the same communities you see Indians who are large communities world over, but they very conveniently they camouflage themselves in the local communities, and they are per se not perceived as threat, although they have also acquired very high status jobs there. They have also acquired businesses, but they are considered benign or progressive in those communities,
despite all the propagation of the RSS initiatives going on in the West.
Exactly. I mean, if you see today's world, the most fundamentalist or most extremist groups are either in Hindu, based on Hindutva of RSS, or Zionist, but they are never talked about. Nobody hates them, and it is only the Muslims who, despite their large number globally and having a lot of potential to exert themselves, they are at the mercy of anybody and everybody, be it the state, be it the society, or be it an individual, like what happened in New Zealand, that which ultimately was the reason for this day to be celebrated, not celebrated, but to be observed.
Madni Saab, you have also mentioned a little bit on online speech. We are seeing social media rampant, especially X or Twitter, with a lot of hate speech against the Muslims. There are other social media platforms also that are being used. There are media outlets that are being used sometimes to portray a narrative that goes against the basic injunctions of Islam or Muslim ideology. We see that in the West, we see it in our region, and of course in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, India and Palestine are bearing the brunt of it all, and also as a consequence of it all, we also see a lot of more online activity of such sort happening. Do you feel this is also part of some kind of a clash of religions or clash of civilizations?
Yes, there is a discussions about the clash of civilizations, of the clash of religions. But I think if you see after the 9/11, especially the American media, the Fox News, so the main headlines was the Islamic terrorism, Islamic jihadist, and they use that kind of words. But they are tagging directly the specific community.
Which is very strange, you know, in Palestine they don't say Zionist jihad, do they?
So, so this is something that's create a lot of misunderstanding within the youth and the community through the media. And same that narrative by our social media and the next generation from that. And I think this is also a racist attitude that we will found.
It's also part of Islamophobia, isn't it? You know.
So so it's we faced, and I visited United States and visited one of the leading universities. So one of the professor told me that there are some universities and youth clubs that specifically they are titled on the racism, and they are promoting the racism, and their academia and the people are working on that agenda. So, yes, we are talking about the extremism, terrorism, if the name of Islam or the other religion, we always counter them, and we are providing our alternate narrative of peace, harmony and social cohesion within the religion.
This is what Islam has always been, Madni Sahab. It is a religion of peace. If we just remember the life of our last Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, he lived a life that was based on peace, on equality, on giving all religion castes their equal, you know, way to, you know, follow their religion the way they wanted. And that is why there were hordes of people that changed their religion, that came into the fold of Islam, because they loved the whole ideology and the philosophy of Islam. But isn't this whole philosophy or ideology being misrepresented through Islamophobia because of Islamophobia?
Yes, today we were discussing with Dr. Ijaz that if you see the Jews top scholars, so they most of them, they are writers, authors and scholars and academia. They wrote a lot of books in Muslims times during the Spain. So the Muslims time, especially in the Spain and the West, when they were in the rule for 800 years. So all the minorities and the social cohesion with the other religions, that was a great example in the human history. So we need to just to clarify to the world that the Muslims or the Islam is not a threat. It is an opportunity. It is a message of peace, salamity, and it's provide a common, create a space for the dialogue. And if you see the Misaq-e-Medina, it's the official document of the state of Medina, which create a great space to the Jews and other religious communities. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him, he hosted the Christians community in Masjid Nabawi and his grand mosque. So I think these are the examples of the Islam. And now especially in the Western society, what the Muslims are doing in the charity, and they are supporting the community, the poor. If you see, I visited the Los Angeles mayor office, so he told us that there are more than 70,000 people migrants are coming here, and we haven't the house facilities. So the major Muslim charity organization are supporting the government. So if you see the Islamic Relief in West and many other organizations, so they are doing a very credible job. So it means that the Muslims are contributing in the Western society, including
But you know,
United States.
unfortunately we don't highlight that, do we? What we highlight is all kinds of negativity as far as Islam and Muslims, and whenever they find any Muslim directly or indirectly involved in something, they highlight it to the fore. But when it is a Christian or Jew or Hindu, it's not highlighted that much. In fact, they try to subdue it as much as possible. AVM Saab, I'd like to state some of what Antonio Gutteres, United Nations Secretary General, said on this day. He said we must confront and root out bigotry in all its forms. Leaders must condemn inflammatory discourse and safeguard religious freedom. Digital platforms must moderate hateful content and protect users from harassment. Everyone must unite to combat intolerance, stereotypes and bias. Together, we should commit to promote mutual respect and understanding, foster social cohesion, build peaceful, just and inclusive societies for all. These look so nice when you listen to them, you know, it's also very nice on paper. But as we have seen, whatever is good on paper is never implemented in reality. How difficult are all these values that have been put on paper by Antonio Gutteres to implement in actual life?
Yes, exactly. The manifestation of these, you know, very flowery words will be very difficult, because firstly, where we are standing today globally, that has a lot of, you know, engagement and contribution deliberately on the part of, you know, certain segments in the Western world. So, for example, as you were referring to the social media, what happens, you know, they actually instigate through some act, you know, like a caricature or a comment in a newspaper or something, you know, then a chain reaction starts. And then people forget over the period of time that how was it initiated and what was the catalyst.
They only remember the outcome of it, they don't remember how it all began.
Yeah, and then the optics of the reactions of the Muslims, who are obviously very genuinely very, you know, emotional about their religion. And we have to see that because in the West they have detached themselves from the church, so that is not their sensitivity. So this is internationally only the Muslims who are very emotional about their certain relics or certain, you know, the spiritual rights, and secondly the institution of family, which is the strength of generally in the Muslim world. You know, that is what bothers them a lot. Because wherever there are Muslim communities, their family is what they feel threatened with. So we have to, I think, promote interfaith harmony at all levels. At national level within Pakistan we can do, and then globally also. I think Pakistan successive governments, they have been very you know, assertive at the forum like United Nations General Assembly. Our the head of governments and then our permanent representative over there, they have always pleaded this case, and we should not be apologetic. That is what my concern is. We should be rather, you know, contesting our case with a pride, because it is based on reality. We have a history, we have a heritage which tells the world. I mean, if any neutral authors, neutral scholars, or you know, anybody who deals with the social sciences, any neutral study would reveal and establish that Islam is a religion of peace. And wherever Muslims have been in power, my colleague just referred about Spain, even in India, for example, where we have ruled for centuries, the Muslims, they have been very tolerant to other religions.
True.
As the very long, you know, dynasties, they have successively been very tolerant with the other religion that they have governed. Whereas the other religions, whenever they got a chance, for example, the Sikhs, very brief rule in India, what they did with Muslims. So those things are never highlighted, and we remain apologetic. I think we should take up our case with strength, with
and with pride.
And with pride, that we are the one, you know, who have brought so many positive changes to human civilization wherever we have
That
been.
I agree with you. I can't agree more. Speaking of the United Nations, how important does the role become? Because of course this International Day was began with the resolution by the United Nations as well, and also the role of the European Union to counter Islamophobia. Do you feel important steps have been taken so far by both the EU and the United Nations? What more needs to be done?
I would not say that they have taken enough steps, you know, beyond certain, you know, I would say passing certain statements. Because the authority which the Muslims do not have that kind, they have presence in United Nations, but the United Nations Security Council, for example, which is the main body, that doesn't have any Muslim representation per se. So the issue cannot be taken up it is more of the human right violations attached with this phenomena, which attracts the sane voices within UN or in EU. So we also have to project it on merit like that. For example, we are talking about Indian illegally occupied Kashmir. This was purely a political issue. A partition of India wasn't a religious overture. It was a political constitutional arrangement in which it was decided that all princely states would have right to opt for either of the two nation states. But later on it has been given a color or a narrative of Muslims or Islam, and then since then we see that Indian extremist politicians in all their electoral processes, election campaigns, Muslim bashing, Pakistan bashing, this is a part of their slogans, this is part of their campaigns. So such an organized campaign against Muslims, and nobody takes notice of that. And similarly, the Palestine issue also has its roots beyond religion. It has to do a lot with the politics or economics of that region as well. But now it has become just a matter of do or die in the name of religion. So the narratives, the war of narratives is very important, and we must I think rewrite our narratives if we have to seek the fairness or a fair response from the world at large.
All right, Madni Sahab, coming to India, in 2023 the India Hate Lab documented 668 hate speech events targeting Muslims. It also recorded 255 of these events in the first half of 2023, 430 in the second half, which was an increase of 62%. Why do countries like India use hate speech, use Islamophobia as a tool for political gain?
I'm really not understanding for what a developed country, one of the largest economy, one of the largest democracy is doing that, because it's totally ununderstandable for me, being a student of religion and political science, because it is not possible, the development not possible without inclusion, without social harmony, without giving rights to the different ethnic and religious groups. If you are saying that you are the democracy, so this is the basic need, this is the basic democratic value for a country to support and equally treat with all the citizens and provide their rights. So I am still not understanding that what's maybe there is some local agenda in politics or something, but I think it's not work, because it's also disturbing their international image of the India and other international communities on doing this immoral activities, especially with the and same the issue with the I specifically highlight the issue of the Christians, because many the Christian leaders are raising voices that they are facing the same issues as the Muslims within the India.
Well, this is,
and
it
is become alarming situations.
Accentuating into a broader, more concentrated effort towards other religions.
But
as well.
Unfortunately, what's the response of the international community? So when the last 2 years ago, when the International Religious Freedom report was issued by the US Secretary of State Blinken, so he didn't mention the India in that list. He mentioned Pakistan, China and some of the African countries, but he didn't mention the India.
So again,
so I think we are using the human rights and religious freedom for the political purposes, and we need to be very clear on this, because this is the basic human rights and basic democratic value. So we don't need to mix with our regional or political politics.
And that is what Islamophobia does. It targets the symbols and markers of being a Muslim, and we need to stop it on different levels, on different fora, as both of you have said before it's too late. But there is still time to do the needful. Thank you so very much, AVM retired Ijaz Malik Saab. Thank you so very much, Muhammad Israr Madni Saab, to have joined us and to have talked to us about this very important issue that still plagues us, that plagues even us, you and myself and all the Muslims across the world. That is Islamophobia, and we need to do something about it before, I repeat, it's too late. Let's come to our second segment, and that concerns Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, who has called for expediting initiatives under the SIFC. Now, our Prime Minister outlined an ambitious 5-year economic roadmap that is aimed at bolstering Pakistan's economy and steering it towards prosperity. Addressing a meeting on economy, the Prime Minister underscored the paramount importance of fortifying the national economy to ensure progress over the next half-decade. He also underscored the necessity of soliciting input from all the stakeholders to craft a robust plan that resonates with the needs of a nation. Now, with a keen focus on accountability and efficiency, he has stressed on the urgency of timely implementation of proposed initiatives, leaving no room for delays. Also, pivotal sectors including electricity, agriculture, livestock, revenue, small and medium scale industries, taxation, information technology, investment and exports were also discussed during the course of all of this. Now, if we come a little bit towards the SIFC, the SIFC, established in 2023 on the 20th of June, was tasked to act as a single window to facilitate foreign and local investors, establish cooperation between all government departments and fast-track development, including privatization, objectives that require representation from the senior most members of the executive and the civilian bureaucracy as well as the military. This, of course, is a milestone in Pakistan's economic development. This groundbreaking initiative that is aimed at attracting foreign investment and boosting economic growth has garnered nationwide attention. The Prime Minister has also directed his team to remain committed and work diligently to overcome the economic challenges, of which the SIFC becomes a very important part. He has also called for further accelerating the pace set under the Special Investment Facilitation Council, of course this is the SIFC, for the economic recovery of the country. And also he said that the SIFC has played a key role in the decision to provide better incentives to research and production companies through the approval of the tight gas policy. To discuss that and much more, we've been joined by Shakeel Ahmad Ramay. He's a leading economist and a propagator not only of our economy but also on Pak-China relations. But here we're going to talk economy with him. Thank you very much, Shakeel, to have joined us. Now, the SIFC, I'll begin with that. It is a milestone as far as Pakistan's economic development is concerned. The initiative, which was aimed at attracting foreign investment, is bringing in dividends. We saw one major joint venture that was signed with on the pink salt very recently, last month in fact. How can this forum, in your point of view, navigate the responsibilities effectively, build trust with the investors and ensure that the military's contribution in strengthening economy is compatible with the nation's democratic values?
Thank you, Omar. I think you have mentioned it very beautifully. So this is very important initiative, and definitely if we look at the agenda and its implementation framework or its priority areas, it shows a picture. So if Pakistan will be able to implement those agenda or the implement on those priority areas, so definitely Pakistan economy would be in a better position. And we have seen, so in the last few months, not in a few months, but I think in more than 1 year now. So we have seen, so many people in the foreign countries, they have shown the trust. So they are saying, so we are quite confident, so it will deliver. So SIFC.
All right.
So if we look around, why SIFC was needed, I will answer you in 2 parts.
All right.
Number 1, if we look at number of processes in Pakistan, ease of doing business in Pakistan, and institutions involved, even with one objective, one function. For example, in Pakistan there are the 35 different tax agencies with departments. Then you have to deal with the 5-6 registration companies, and you have to register at different levels. If you look around in your neighborhood or in the you can say adjacent neighborhood, for example in Saudi Arabia it takes only 30 minutes to get registered a company.
Oh,
so
right.
If you look at a UAE, so I think within 1 week you will get the electricity connection, and in Pakistan it at least take 113 days if everything goes smooth. That is minimum time. So now you compare Pakistani context and the regional context. Definitely if we have to become a competitive market to attract investment, we have to work on these indicators. We have to make our system registration process efficient, then we have to make our operations very efficient. If you apply for electricity connection, you get it. If you apply for other services, you get it. If you need any approval, you get it within a bound time frame, within few days. That's why SIFC was a very good initiative. However, there are two problems in SIFC. If they are not addressed, they can create a problem. Number one, SIFC is a facilitation body. It does not have any decision making or implementation power. It is a you can say the one step above the board of investment. If you want to make it successful, give it a decision making and implementation power. We have seen in the case of CPEC authority. So that was doing the good job, but all the intention were good. All the leadership was leadership from the army, leadership from the political side. They were pushing. We need to go for CPEC authority, but same problem was there. That's why that authority faced the problems. So if they want to make this initiative successful, they have to give it decision making and implementation power.
Right.
It is also required because after 5 years or 6 years, if there is a new government, so will they own this initiative?
But that's very important, this ownership of initiatives and continuity of policies that are for the betterment of the country.
That's what I'm saying. Make it institutional, give it some powers. So no matter who comes in the power, how the system is running, the system and the body should be there and keep performing. Number two, that's a second structural problem in SIFC is, if we look around current status, what is a major problem? Bureaucratic processes, debt tapism, these two are the major processes.
Yes.
And you have stuffed the SIFC with the bureaucracy again.
Okay.
So you need, if you want to take a different type of initiative to make it a success, you have to make it a different type of the initiatives.
All right.
If you, rather than if you just trying to keep on adding the layer above the board of investment, you have one more layer. That's when you're adding the layers, not delivering the objectives. So these are two fundamental, you can say, the structural problem in SIFC.
That needs to be addressed.
That must be addressed. Otherwise, in the long run, who has initiated this process? He has to face the blame of they could not perform.
All right. I understand that, but the SIFC, when it was created, as you yourself said, was to facilitate the foreign investors, to increase foreign direct investment, to implement the one window operation facilitation. How successful has the SIFC been as far as these three is concerned?
Look, at this point of time, if we look around, so they can tell, look, if somebody, for example, there is a SIFC body, in somebody say, I have a proposal for the investment in energy sector. They will bring the proposal to the energy ministry. Then energy ministry will take the decision. So you cannot force them. So then again process is here. You have, that's what my point is, Omar. This is very good initiative and it is required. Because there is, you can say, cutthroat competition in the region and extra region. We have to compete with them and we need such bodies.
All right.
Which can make decision efficiently, but that body must be given the authority. Otherwise, it will just pass on the information to other body, to another department. From that, they get the information. They will transfer this information to the investor. Then it keep going on.
So it's a vicious circle.
So that's my point. Look, on some projects, which may be the leadership of army, or the prime minister, or the army chief just said, look, we have to do this 3, 4, 5 projects. Everybody fall in the line. They say, oh, the permission. But in the long run, these are not only 5, 6 programs. You need a lot of investment.
Exactly.
And for that purpose, you have to deal with the structural issues.
Okay. I think I understand your point. Now, the Prime Minister, in a meeting that was held yesterday, in fact, very recently, yesterday, he issued instructions to the Petroleum Division to increase the research and production of gas in accordance with the tight gas policy. Now, I'd like to understand a little bit on the tight gas policy and the role to be played by the SIFC in the decision to provide better incentives to research and production companies through the approval of this policy.
Look, any country in the world, if they want to make a progress in this point of at this point of the time, they have to invest on 2 things very fundamentally. Number 1, human resource, quality human resource, and second, research and development. Because until unless you make better and efficient systems of the production and identify the opportunities, you will not be able to capitalize on that. I think in this way the Prime Minister or the SIFC, this statement is very important, and I believe they will implement this policy very diligently, because it is required. In Pakistan there is no culture of research and development. For
it
example,
needs to be developed,
I just give you one example, you can understand better. In 2005 I was doing my MPhil thesis on the return on agriculture research in Pakistan. I could not get the data from the whole Pakistan. Then from the Punjab government I get the data, secondary data from the GDP, and from that it was pointed out that 80 to 90% the budget allocated for research is being utilized for the administration, for the salary. So in this context, Prime Minister also have to increase the budget for R&D, because R&D is a very to hire the human capital, that is one thing, but actually to run those systems you need resources to have the experimentation, because in research and development you have to continue the experimentation. If sometimes you are successful, sometimes you are not successful, you know, you don't have to tell the people, oh, you are not successful, you are a bad scientist or you are a bad researcher. No, like R&D, this is a system. So this is required in Pakistan. I think we have always hear from here and there, we have a lot of offshore and offshore resources of petroleum and gases, and then inland resources of petroleum gases. I think what we lacked, that was a proper R&D, and this policy will, I think so, if it is implemented,
change it for the better, basically.
I think it will be a better and a required step to you can say to facilitate the sector and accelerate the processes in the system and exploration.
All right, Shakeel, the Prime Minister has emphasized action on a priority basis to develop agriculture, livestock, technology, foreign investment and small and large scale industries. Corporate farming is a very essential part of the SIFC's agenda and envisages the use of modern technologies and agricultural practices. Do you feel that this could be also brought forward in a way that could benefit the agriculture sector, because we have gone through floods that have affected our agriculture sectors, and we need to modernize it so that we could, stand tall even if such calamities occur in the future?
Omar, if we have looked at the agriculture sector, there are a number of things, but I will concentrate on
because you were talking of the agriculture sector, that was
I will talk about 2 or 3 things only. Number one, what is the most important problem at this point of time for agriculture? That is the productivity per acre yield. Our per acre yield is very low. Even in the species of animals, their yield was very low. That was the immediate task, which can, if we take care of that, it can help the Pakistan, if not double, at least 0.1%, 5% or 2%, they can add to our values. How? We need a quality seed.
All right.
And quality input. And under CPAC, China has established their here in the Pakistan, and we can import seed from there. This is immediate. Immediate, you can say, the remedy. We can give a boost to our production within 1 year. Better quality seed, if you are getting 30 man, for example in Pakistan the wheat per acre yield is 32 man. If you have better seed, maybe you have the 50 man. You just can calculate how much it will give to the boost to our agriculture. Within 1 year, with not too much investment, just bringing the quality seed and providing it to the farmers. Number 2, majority of our farmers are small, less than 12 acre. Even I was just looking at the data, there were 2.4 million farmers who has less than 1 acre land. So corporate farming is not for them. Our more than 90% farmers, they are less than 12.5 acre. So corporate farming is not for them. But on the other hand, we had 8.4 million acre of land, cultivatable land wastage we have at this point of the time. 8.4 million acres, and half of them is Balochistan. So we have to divide this. One sector, on one side we have to make growth indicators from agriculture that bring in the corporate farming.
All right.
And big land areas, that is lies with the government. But simultaneously you have to erect the system to protect the small farmers. So basically you have to make 2 goals. One, growth, other development.
All right, and comes back to R&D as well, and comes back to a lot of initiatives that need to be taken.
I just want to add one more thing.
Please go ahead.
When CPAC Authority was there, we were working with General Asim Bajwa at that time. We were working on this model.
Okay.
So how can we under CPAC, how that cooperation can be enhanced, but in two stages.
Okay.
Because if you don't care of the 90% of the farmers, it will create a resistance among the community, and will create the problems, and your poverty will keep rising, because if the corporate sector take over the market for everything, so their income will go down. That means in the farming community poverty will increase. You simultaneously you make two objectives, one is growth, other is the development.
I think that these are very important objectives that need to be inculcated at the earliest through collaboration between the private and the public sector, and of course the involvement of the SIFC and the government of Pakistan and all other stakeholders that are involved in it. We need to move forward, we need to have a charter of economy, we need to have a consensus on building the nation. I think that is the most important thing that we need to come together on and work towards, and a consistency of all reforms processes that are under this policy.
One more thing.
Okay.
We have to stop selling the dreams. We have to communicate the reality.
Exactly.
So that people don't get annoyed.
I agree with you on that. Thank you so very much, Shakeel Ahmad Ramay, to have joined us, and I hope that Ramzan is treating you well. Let's come to our last two stories. The first, ladies and gentlemen, concerns South Korean scientists who have made what is called beef rice, and they say this is a source of protein for the futures. They have grown beef cells in rice grains. They say this is a major step towards achieving a sustainable, affordable and environmentally friendly source of protein that could replace farmed cattle for meat. If successfully developed into food products, this beef rice could serve as a sustainable protein source, particularly in environments where traditional livestock farming is important. There are pros and there are cons. There are some who like it, who have tasted it, but they say and the others who say that nothing compares to the actual beef. But nevertheless, this is an important substitution in case you lack in beef or beef products. So of course, science, as you say, there has no boundaries when it comes to innovation. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, Antarctic scientists have warned of bird flu spread, as there are cases among the penguins that have been confirmed in Antarctica. The deadly H5N1 avian flu virus has been confirmed after the first cases were seen in the Antarctica's mainland last month, and since has been detected in local penguins as well as cormorant populations. It has decimated bird populations worldwide and hit South American wild bird and marine mammal populations hard. It has raised also the alarm about the potential impact on Antarctica's huge penguin colonies. We all remember the past, we all remember the avian flu virus and how it impacted economies and countries across the world. Let's hope this time we are able to curtail it before it spreads too far. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. Today is Friday, so of course a break of the weekend. We'll see you inshallah on Monday with new stories that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Have a great weekend and a blessed fasts during those weekends as well. Allah Hafiz.